Ready, folks. Welcome back. Happy first full day of America's comeback. By the way, we have Judge Andrew Napolitano on in just a few minutes talking about these pardons, Joe Biden's pardons and the January 6th pardons, which the left is going apoplectic about. We're going to break it all down with the guy who knows, a constitutional lawyer, Andrew Napolitano, coming up in just a minute. But Joe Biden is finally gone. Finally gone. Can we all make a major sigh of relief? Take it and breathe in, breathe out. Focus on the positive changes that will swiftly, I don't mean Taylor swiftly make life in America seem luxurious as it once was. Our now former president left office with a bang, pardoning 5 members of his family as his foot was basically halfway out the White House door, not tripping down a stair yet. But even though Biden constantly told the media that he would not pardon members of his own family, including his son, which he already did, but he went further. Well, he did just that now. And remember, this is final act in office with just 15 minutes before Trump was sworn in. He pardoned the family. After pardoning his son Hunter a while ago, President Biden's last-second pardons went to both of his brothers, Francis and James, his sister-in-law Sarah, his younger sister Valerie, and her husband John. Got plenty to say about it, so let's react. Well, before we say too much about Biden's, I don't know if it's abuse of presidential pardons, but it sure was weird that he did it with like 15 minutes left in his presidency. Let's flash back to someone else who could have saved countless hours and tons of stress by pardoning himself, but instead chose to have some actual integrity and didn't pardon himself.
If you were reelected, would you pardon yourself?
I could have pardoned myself. Do you know what? I was given an option to pardon myself. I could have pardoned myself when I left. People said, would you like to pardon yourself? I had a couple of attorneys that said, you can do it if you want. I had some people that said it would look bad if you do it, because I think it would look terrible. I said, here's the story. These people are thugs, horrible people, fascists, Marxists, sick people. They've been after me from the day I came down the escalator with Melania. And I did a great job as president. People were acknowledged. Great economy, great jobs, great this, great that. Rebuilt the military, Space Force, everything. I could go on forever. Let me just tell you. I said the last thing I'd ever do is give myself a pardon.
So Trump's right. It's about optics. If you didn't do anything wrong, why pardon yourself? He believed he did nothing wrong. It turns out he didn't. He spent the next 4 years getting lawfare thrown at him, but he didn't pardon himself. Now, the optics. It wasn't too long ago that old Joe Biden, had plenty of nasty things to say, by the way, about the idea of Trump pardoning his own family. Of course, I doubt he remembers any of his prior comments. He barely remembers what he had for breakfast that day, but it was probably something soft and mushy. But Jake Tapper does, from CNN. And Jakey seems to be pretty upset that the president basically lied to Jake's face back in 2020 when asked about pardons.
In 2020, when I interviewed him right after he'd been elected, had some very harsh things to say about the idea of Trump giving preemptive pardons to his family members. He said it would set a horrible precedent. Now, Trump didn't do it. Joe Biden did. And we can come back to that subject later in the day.
Biden's decision to pardon his entire crime family practically confirms the beliefs of all those conspiracy theorists. Again, all those conspiracy theories ended up being true. The president himself, less than 2 weeks ago, literally said he would only pardon people who did something wrong. Remember this?
So, sir, on pardons, have you ruled out a pardon for yourself or any other additional members of the family?
For myself?
Yes, sir.
Well, what did I pardon myself for?
That's what I'm asking.
No, I have no contemplation of pardoning myself for anything. I didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, well, I did nothing wrong. So he said, if you didn't do anything wrong, I'm not going to pardon. So why'd you pardon your son? Why'd you pardon your whole family? Your sister? It's insane. And by the way, Jake freaking Tapper, now you're pissed? That was 4.5 years ago. Now you're mad that he lied to you? He's been lying to you all along. Where were you then? The radical Democrats have been really quiet about Biden's completely, gross. Legitimate or not sure. We'll ask Judge Napolitano in a minute. Illegitimate, not sure. Chucky Schumer once tried to shred Trump for allegedly considering such a move. I wonder if he will repeat the following statement today.
The president seems intent on filling each of his remaining days in office with petulance, grievance, self-interest. The president's reportedly asking his staff about whether he can whether he can issue. President's reportedly asking his staff whether he can issue preemptive pardons for himself, his family members, Rudy Giuliani. There's a simple answer: no. No, Mr. President, that would be a gross abuse of the presidential pardon authority.
Well, dumbass Chucky Schumer just proved why we call him dumbass Chucky Schumer. He was completely wrong. Again, Schumer is trying to point a finger at Trump, telling him, don't pardon your family or yourself. It's illegal. You can't do it. Biden just did it. Biden just did it, Chucky. Whew. That's the Senate Majority Leader up until now. Not anymore. Trump kept his promise and immediately pardoned roughly 1,500 defendants charged in the January 6th protest. Let's go to Judge Napolitano. He'll break down both the Biden pardons and the Trump pardons right now. All right, have a very, very important special guest, and he's happens to be one of my very close friends from a very, very long time. A life long ago. We used to work at Fox together for a long time. Judge Andrew Napolitano, one of the smartest people you'll ever hear and talk to about constitutionality of stuff, folks. He also has an amazingly popular podcast called Judging Freedom on YouTube and other places. Make sure you subscribe. It's blowing up because he is one smart cookie. Judge, really good to have you. So I talked to you yesterday about coming on the show about these Biden pardons, but then we've gotten some January 6th pardons from Trump as well. Can you take us through both of them, Judge, like the constitutionality of both and how you think these play out? We'll start with the Biden pardons.
Well, Eric, it's a pleasure to be on with you, and thank you for your flattering words, and congratulations on your show as well. I miss the old days when we worked together every day. But life goes on for both of us. So the president's pardoning power is absolute, meaning it doesn't require the permission of anyone. He doesn't have to give a reason, and it can't be appealed. So Joe Biden's pardon of nonviolent drug users, or his commutation of death penalties for all but a select group of murderers, those things cannot be interfered with, and Trump and successive Justice Departments are stuck with them. The most unique pardon, in my view, are two. One, Dr. Fauci, who has been credibly accused of perjury by Senator Rand Paul, who, of course, is himself a physician, and who might very well have been a criminal defendant in a perjury prosecution, but for this pardon. Another interesting pardon by President Biden is one that might shoot himself in the foot, Eric. I'll tell you why. When a person receives a pardon and can no longer be prosecuted for any crime, they lose their Fifth Amendment right to silence about the subject matter of any crime they may have committed. As an example, Biden pardoned his brother-in-law. So if the brother-in-law were to be brought before Congressman Comer's Oversight Committee last week and said, didn't you funnel funds to your brother-in-law Joe when he was vice president? The brother-in-law would say, I refuse to answer under the grounds of the Fifth Amendment, that my answer might incriminate me. Today, he would have to answer that truthfully. And if he didn't answer it truthfully, he could be prosecuted for the failure to answer it truthfully.
So, Judge, can I ask you so these aren't blanket pardons? Like, I think, wasn't the Hunter pardon 11 years of, didn't matter what? These are specific pardons?
No, they are blanket pardons, but they're only valid up to the moment of the pardon. If he were to commit a crime in denying an event covered by the pardon, and if that denial were under oath, he could be prosecuted for perjury. Or if he refuses to answer questions under oath, he can be incarcerated until he answers, and that is not pardonable.
Judge,
even though Joe has been found by his own Justice Department as too feeble to stand trial as a defendant, it's not too feeble to be president, but too feeble to stand trial as a defendant. He may very well be exposed to criminal liability, depending on what these in-laws say under oath.
A couple quick things before we move on to Trump. But he preemptively pardoned some folks. Has that ever been happened before? And the other question is there anything that is outside? You say it's absolute, outside the purview or power of the president to pardon. Can he pardon a convicted murderer?
He can pardon anybody for a federal crime, no matter how heinous the crime may be. Yes, there is precedent for preemptive pardons. Lincoln pardoned certain Confederates that he wanted to lure back into the Union, even though they had engaged in acts of treason, uncharged at the time. And famously, at least in my lifetime, maybe not in yours, Gerald Ford pardoned Richard Nixon long before he was charged with any crime. So these preemptive pardons are valid.
They're legal. They're constitutional.
If you're pardoned for a crime that you've already paid the penalty for, and the penalty consists of money that you had to give the government, you get that money back.
Wow. Wow. That's interesting. I didn't know that part. Judge, they're on the left. CNN is going literally apoplectic. Even mainstream news organization. I saw ABC on with Marco Rubio. They brought him on and they were hammering him about Trump's January 6 pardons. Again, they seem to pale in comparison for some of the things that other people have been pardoned for. But that's me. I'm not an attorney nor a constitutional lawyer. So you tell me.
Donald Trump wants to turn a page on the abuse of power by the Biden Justice Department. One way to turn that page is to pardon everybody involved in January 6th. I myself believe that a murder was committed on January 6th when Michael Byrd, a police officer, murdered Ashley Babbitt. He wasn't pardoned because he wasn't charged. He wasn't even charged with a crime, perhaps because he was a police officer. That was a horrific thing that he did. She was unarmed. He shot her in the neck. Okay, that's an exception. Some people did damage. Some people harmed the police. Trump is willing to forgive all of that in the interest of turning the page. I get it. I understand it. I commend him for it. There's no limit to his pardon power. He doesn't have to answer to anybody. It's not appealable.
Now, there were reports that some federal facilities were not allowing some of these January 6 folks to leave. There are actually citizens showing up at the doorsteps of these prisons saying, let them out, they're free. Can someone be charged? It's almost like kidnapping at this point, no, Judge?
Well, the short answer is yes. The longer answer is it usually takes a few days for the official document to make their way to the prison. So it goes from the White House to the DOJ to the Bureau of Prisons to the actual prison where the person is located. That's not going to happen overnight. He doesn't even have his attorney general in place yet. He's basically dealing with Biden's DOJ.
Mm-hmm. Can they slow walk it, Judge? Can they, a few days? Can they make it a few months?
I'm sorry to say that they can, they will, and they probably have. And that's reprehensible. That might very well be a cause of action known as unlawful imprisonment if they intentionally slow walk those releases.
I don't know this answer. I should know things close to it before I ask something like this, but I don't think Joe Biden pardoned himself. If Trump wants to, can he play the same lawfare game that Biden did with Trump on Biden himself, turn it back on him?
I do not believe that Biden pardoned himself. He either believes that he's not subject to any prosecution or the Supreme Court ruling on immunity will shield him. The issue of pardoning oneself has never been resolved by the court. As far as we know, it's never happened in American history.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Judge, I know you're busy. You're a busy man. Appreciate it. Again, Judging Freedom. You want to tell us real quickly what the podcast is about?
It's usually foreign affairs. John Mearsheimer, Jeff Sachs, Doug McGregor, who was a senior in the Trump the second half of Trump's first term Defense Department. We present a view of foreign affairs that you don't see on mainstream media, which has helped our popularity. Thank you for mentioning it, Eric.
No,
And
absolutely.
forgive my froggy voice. I feel better than I sound.
And you look great, Judge. Always good talking to you again. A longtime friend, maybe 30 years on. Judge Andrew Napolitano, thank you again, folks. It's called Judging Freedom. Thanks, Judge.
Well, all the best, my man.
You too. All right, folks, as we've been talking about our great sponsors, Goya Foods. Bobby Donaway, the family that owns and started and founded Goya Foods, is a huge friend of the show. In 2021, Goya launched Goya Cares, a global initiative to protect children and educate children on mental health. Goya Cares is providing schools and community centers with a preventative education curriculum and a free assembly that includes the viewing of the Goya Cares movie called Press Pause. Press Pause is intended to raise awareness regarding mental health issues, abuse, and bullying among children, teens, and in our communities. Press Pause is an educational film following 15-year-old Sofia Rodriguez as she navigates adolescence, self-doubt, and an abusive relationship amid her parents' turbulent divorce set within the cultural context of her Hispanic family. The film explores her discomfort with the unwanted attention from her uncle and the pressures of maintaining a facade of perfection in high school. It introduces the Press Pause campaign promoting kindness and advocacy, highlighted by Sophia leaving a note saying, "You matter," for a bullied peer. The film encourages open family communication about mental health and culminates in Sophia's transformative realization of her right to seek help. Through the power of empathy and small acts of kindness, Press Pause displays the importance of being proactive in supporting one's community and underscores the critical importance of self-advocacy. Great folks at Goya. All right, folks, time for today's Truth Bomb. Well, the mainstream Truth Bomb, always right from here, folks, always honest, and sometimes we drop a little F-bombs in the Truth Bomb, but the mainstream media has already given us their first dose of BS during this new Trump administration. They really wasted literally no time over at CNN within minutes of the man being sworn in. They're now suggesting, get this, they're now suggesting that Elon Musk gave a Nazi-style salute yesterday. Now, Elon did, he was up on a stage. There's a thing called dabs, and there's a thing that people used to do. Anyway, well, let me show you half a dozen examples of prominent Democrats doing that exact same movement, but watch.
And I just want to say thank you for making it happen. Thank you. My heart goes out to you.
Now, listen, I'd be the first one to call out anti-Semitism if I saw it. I'm married to a Jewish woman. I see anti-Semitism everywhere. That guy, he was excited. He was on the stage. He did this. There's a little dance move that younger people used to do. I'm not sure what it's called. I don't know. MD or Ben, what was that dance? Was it called a dab or what was that thing? Anyway, Elon, he was clearly motioning his heart goes out to something, goes out to you, something that's been done at the podium by Republicans and Democrats, by the way, for decades. This is why CNN is a national laughingstock. Don't worry, folks. We have the receipts. Here you see Hillary, Barack, and Kamala making the same gesture. Hey, CNN, where's your outrage with them? I'm not done. Here's AOC doing the same damn thing. Where's the anger over that?
We will move with purpose and speed to bring back hope, prosperity, safety, and peace for citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed. For American citizens, January 20th, 2025 is Liberation Day.
So did you sleep a little better last night? Get a little bit more deep, sleep a little more REM? Because I know I did. Promises made, promises delivered, promises will be kept, and it's only just the beginning. This was a very different inauguration than it was 8 years ago. This was a positive Trump. And this is a Trump who knows exactly what he wants to do and how, by the way, how he's going to do it. Let's get into it. Day one, President Trump had been number 47 for less than 24 hours, and his list looks a little something like this: 42 executive orders, memoranda and/or proclamations, 115 personnel actions, more than 200 executive actions, 60 minutes of press Q&A, and 3 historic speeches that even the leftists around the world could not complain about. So much so that they went right back to their modus operandi, and they just can't help themselves, by the way, and decided to falsely claim that Elon Musk was evoking Hitler. Remember, the mainstream media have learned absolutely nothing, especially CNN, who just got sued for millions upon millions of dollars for disparaging someone as well. Guess what? I'm guessing Elon Musk is going to sue them. Not one thing. You do not hate these people, the legacy media, enough. Trust me. So President Trump did all of that and still had time for this. That's called winning, but it's also called winning big and really feeling it. Man, that guy is loving every minute of this. But this is probably one of the most important parts of President Trump's speech.
Like in 2017, we will again build the strongest military the world has ever seen. We will measure our success not only by the battles we win, but also by the wars that we end, and perhaps most importantly, the wars we never get into.
Well, meanwhile, Trump is ticking off exactly the right people. The people who are panicked are exactly the people we want to be in a panic, and for all the right reasons. Here's one of the kings of the globalists, Klaus Schwab, at the World Economic Forum in Davos, as we speak right now, expressing his worry, concern over the new American golden era under President Donald Trump. Sounds pretty good to me, though, being American. Sounds pretty bad to them, being a World Economic Forum American hater. He doesn't say it by name, but make no mistake about it, Klaus Schwab is talking about Trump.
We risk depending into self-serving and short-sighted behaviors that undermine collective progress and lead to profound societal and political shifts.
Translation: Trump's focus on America first, F's with our globalist New World Order plan for global power, control, and domination over everyone, especially you Americans who are going to be paying for their bullshit that they're doing in Davos right now. Collective progress? That's a frightening phrase right there. But don't worry, Klaus Schwab, he's got the plan.
To counter the erosion of hope and confidence in our future, we must go beyond reacting just to crisis. We must focus proactively, shaping the future in strategic, innovative, and constructive ways.
Let me translate for old Klaus Schwab. They won't stop until the world works the way the World Economic Forum, all those billionaires around the world, want it to, which is why President Trump's job is way more important than it ever has. Again, Trump started this whole thing with America first. They hate that. The globalists, these billionaire leaders, all they want to control you, and they can't control you if the American president puts America first. Remember, Barack Obama said, we're against American exceptionalism. He hated American exceptionalism. Joe Biden did the same thing. Trump says, no, we're exceptional. We're so exceptional. Get in line or we're going to toss your ass out. The ivory tower BS globalists climb that snowy Swiss mountain each year. They hobnob with each other. They all fly in there with private jets, carbon spewed everywhere, nearly all of them unelected. And if they are elected, they're still willing globalist soldiers, and they decide how the world should run and who should run it. Let me guess, it's them who's going to run it. We're going to finance it and plan out the next year or the next decade of our demise. And we'll pay for our own demise, plain and simple. That's not hyperbole at all. They talk about preparing for the next pandemic because they're among their favorite ways. A pandemic is the easiest ways to control the masses. Digital IDs and currencies, global currencies, to watch our every move, watch where we're spending our money, decide whether or not we're allowed to spend our money where we want to. That's what they want to do. Carbon taxes. and using the latest technologies to rule the world. But you see, that runs counter to the new golden era of American exceptionalism that President Trump is laying out very quickly. The world has been bracing for this moment, our American liberation. President Trump's own return and political recovery actually represents the kind of America that they, in Davos right now, are deathly afraid of. Try to tear me down, I get right back up. Try to make me weaker, I survive and even become stronger. Try and shoot me in the head and I win the election. Our capitalism, our exceptionalism, it gets in their way. We were weaker under Joe Biden and Barack Obama, and that served the World Economic Forum very well. It's not lost on me the fact that President Trump is apparently taking time out of his busy schedule of executive orders, dismissals, and speeches to talk to the members of the World Economic Forum. He's going to go there, albeit over the phone. You'll see Greta Thunberg, President Trump is actually lowering his carbon footprint, unlike you rich, self-righteous, globalist freaks up in the Swiss Alps in Davos. They hate it. They hate it that Elon Musk is at the forefront of American change, too. His brand of successful capitalism ticks them off to no end. But worse, so does Musk's push for freedom of speech. Watch a seething German chancellor showing his true 1984 colors.
So, on the question of the dealing of Elon Musk, I had a lot of things to comment in the past because he was discussing a lot about Europe. And just to repeat what I already said, we have the freedom of speech in Europe and in Germany. Everyone can say what he wants, even if he is a billionaire. And what we do not accept is if this is supporting extreme right positions. And that is what I would like to repeat again.
Extreme right positions. Extreme right positions. You know what that means? That means us. That means the people who resoundingly gave Donald Trump the presidency a second time. Extreme right? I'm not sure. I think it's just America first. They got that a little confusing, don't they? It should sound familiar, though, because anyone who disagrees with the left is extreme right wing. You can be deemed extreme right wing because they say so, period. End of story. For example, this moment right here from President Trump's amazing inauguration speech has probably sent the globalists into a frenzied overdrive of freakout.
As of today, it will henceforth be the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female.
So we don't give a rat's ass what anyone thinks anymore, especially those fools in Davos. Isn't it the most liberating feeling for us right now? Most of the West is still allowing censorship over regulation, socialism to run rampant. Look at Canada. Look at Mexico, even for that matter. President Trump has rooted much of it out in just a single day. He found time to dance to his favorite jam with a sword in the middle of it all. What's happening up there right now in Switzerland in the rich ski resort? Well, we hate that. Those people don't give a damn about America. In fact, they profit off our weakness and demise. And that's really what it's all about for them. Just like George Soros made billions upon billions off the demise of England. He bet against the English economy. He pushed the British pound to levels that they had to reinvest the pound. He made billions. The British people lost billions. They don't care. These jerks wait in the wings for the first opportunity to take us down. It's not lost on me that just as President Trump gets in there, it times out with this yearly meeting of theirs. It's the perfect counterpoint. Probably they did it so that they thought they were getting Joe Biden or Kamala Harris up in Davos. I'm guessing that's what they did. Never saw Trump winning. Good on us. F you to them. President Trump paused all foreign aid for a 90-day review. That's massive. Can you imagine the panic right now? No money to Ukraine. What? To Israel? A 3-month pause? What? Stopping funding to terrorist organizations like the UNRWA, UNRWA, withdrawing from the World Health Organization. President Trump is not messing around on day one. Declaring a national emergency at the southern border, the leftist machine went nuts over that declaration, ending birthright citizenship, millions of criminal aliens about to be deported, catch and release ended, remain in Mexico is back, drug cartels designated as terrorist groups. Wow, that alone. Drill, baby, drill. Ending the BS Green New Deal. No more electric vehicle mandates by a date. It'll get there. We'll all drive electric vehicles someday, but let's get there when it makes sense, not when they tell us. Free speech restored. Finally, an end to Biden's Orwellian government censorship regime, all on day one. Granting pardons. This is controversial. Granting pardons to 1,500 January 6th defendants. A return to meritocracy, stopping the weaponization of the DOJ, and the end of the race and the gender card being played in public schools everywhere, teaching kids to be embarrassed of America and to rethink what their sex or gender is. That's insane. Little kids, 5-year-olds. Declaration of two genders and two genders only, absolutely insanely mandatory. Male and female. That's it, male and female. We're ending the food and health and disease crisis with RFK Jr. China, Iran, our adversaries who are laughing at us won't laugh any longer. Why? Because President Trump is already proving that what happens, what he says will happen, actually does happen. Not like Biden. President Trump is going to take his first trip as number 47 to disaster-hit North Carolina and California. Not Ukraine or India or Europe or Canada or Mexico. Here, home. Home to Americans who've been hurt and are in need. And by the way, not just North Carolina who voted for him, also California who didn't vote for him. Unlike the FEMA under Joe Biden, who said only help families in North Carolina that didn't have a Trump sign on their front lawn. It's only been one day, folks, and already things are looking more golden. And by the way, the Trump administration now faces multiple lawsuits over that birthright citizenship executive order, the formation of DOJ, and making it easier to fire federal staff who don't fulfill their duties and obligations, who 94% are working from home. Did you know that? The federal government, we just found out, if you work for the federal government, something like 92 to 94% of you are working from home. Working, and I'm using air quotes for the people who are listening on the radio, because BS that they're working 40-hour work weeks, but you are paying for it. We all are. And it hasn't even been a full day yet. The D.C. prison is refusing to release January 6 prisoners. Woo! All right, we're going to fight back. Make no mistake about it. I have full faith that President Trump will fight back even harder. America is back, folks. It's very, very back. I slept very well last night, and I'll sleep very well tonight, too. And I know you will, too. All right. You know, yesterday, Donald Trump, as he was being sworn, he literally went to the podium and said one of the things we're going to do, besides close the border, besides bring law and order back into the country, besides pushing woke DEI policies out, declaring that the United States government recognizes only two genders, male and female. One of the things he did as well, he said, we're going to turn the Gulf of Mexico to what it should be, Gulf of America. And guess who jumped on it immediately? This wonderful state right here that we're in right now, Florida. As expected, Florida is already on Trump time. They just became the first U.S. state to use the Gulf of America in an official weather advisory. And that's why we love Florida. We love DeSantis, the freest state in America, the most pro-Trump free state in America right now. Sorry, Texas.